Here on the Colour of Country Life, Flow FM, we're speaking with the Vice President of the New South Wales Farmers, Xavier Martin. He's found himself not a black spot, a white spot for mobile coverage. Great to chat with you.
Good morning, Ricky.
Now, the flooding impact in New South Wales, naturally our focus is on the southern part of the state where we broadcast, but just give us a quick wrap on how that's looking from New South Wales farmers' perspective across the state.
Well, what we're hearing is that there's many members affected, many farmers right across the state, and it's fair to say that 3/4 of the crop has been caught in the paddock, the winter crop, and obviously impact on summer crop. That said, there's some positives in pastures, and there's some happy animals out there, pretty healthy, and some crops are now secure for their water supply for the summer. Private and public dams are full. Some of them are spilling. But look, the downside is that there's been some pretty significant events. Just about every second cloud seems to have a shower or a storm in it. The rapid falls, the intensity of some of those falls has certainly created some flooding, and we've heard of 1 in 50 and even 1 in 100-year events in some valleys. So quite extraordinary, but to some extent expected in the swing back from the drought where we were 2 years ago.
And there's some optimism or cause for it, I suspect, from the ABARES report that came out yesterday, indicating that in part because of the positive prices for some of really all the winter crops, even if there's a quality downgrade because of wet crops, we still might do reasonably well, indeed may even have a record harvest.
Well, I note the ABARE report, the date it's compiled was probably pre this event. Since they've done that, we've had the 2 weeks of intense flooding and rainfall. So it's highly likely, or it is reality, that there'll be less tonnes out there than what ABARE was predicting, and certainly the value has declined for some dramatically. Some crops just don't have the ability to tolerate this sort of rainfall. So the reality is, for individual farmers, many will have lost 30 to 50% or more of their gross income. And, they've already invested in that cropping year, so virtually all the money has gone out the door. So trying to get as much back is just so important to remaining solvent and living to get to another season. That said, the knock-on for the state economy, there's probably at least $2 billion off the value of the winter crop, notwithstanding the damage to emerging summer crops. And, the multiplier factor through the state economy is, probably means somewhere in the range of $10 to $15 billion hit on the New South Wales state economy. So it's not good news short term. Hopefully long term, the private and public dams being full means there's an opportunity to recoup some of those losses in seasons to come.
That's right, and when it comes to, getting the crop off and getting it to where you need it to go, you've got some concerns for the New South Wales farmers about the roads, the condition of the roads in some places because of these rain events.
Yes, with the above-average crop, there's hundreds of thousands of tonnes to go down, certainly tens of thousands of tonnes to go down some shire roads and hundreds of thousands down others. And the condition of the roads after the flooding is not good. I mean, a lot of your listeners would be aware of roads that are closed or about to close, or certainly not in condition to take major transport activity with harvest trucks. So that's an emerging issue that we're pleased that the state and federal government have put in place appropriate arrangements around natural disaster assistance, but our local governments are going to need a lot of support to recover promptly. We haven't got months and years to get this right. The harvest is still out there in front of us in the paddock, and it needs to get safely into store and safely to where our society needs food, and that quite away from the paddock. So an important piece. And look, we've got DPI running a survey, and we encourage landholders and community members to get on that survey, on that site, and complete the survey so that government has a better understanding of how our communities, how our individuals have been impacted by this event. It's an important piece of work.
Now, have the disaster declarations been adequate across the state, or are you saying there might need to be some more for other areas that might not immediately come to mind with the current weather events?
Oh, look, they've been expanding rapidly, Ricky, across various LGAs, but these events aren't over yet. The flood impact's still expanding, and we're still getting feedback. So there'll have to be more shires, more local government areas added to the list, unfortunately. And, the intensity or the effect of some of these events is still only just been understood. The helicopters are only just flying the roads and having a look as we speak.
And now, with the floods, it's almost biblical. We've got the plague situation with the COVID-19 now, the Omicron variant. Is there a concern from the New South Wales farmers' perspective about migration changes? Say, your holiday backpacker arrangements that's been put on hold for the time being, if I understand it correctly. We already had a concern about farm labour going into the summer crop period. What's the concern level here?
Oh, look, New South Wales farmers are supportive of a government decision to pause on the basis of Omicron and seeking understanding of its effect. But that 14-day delay from literally from today, from the 1st of December to the 15th, is disruptive. We're hoping that will be the maximum effect. We're hoping that visas will still be being processed, and that the arrangements that people can rely on and plan for will still be progressing, and certainly the disruption to our labour expectations. Already we're in a quite disrupted season where the efficiency of access has been really, really badly impacted, and we need those lessons to be learnt over the last 2 years with COVID, how to transfer the required quarantine process, potentially on farm, so that self-quarantining can work efficiently and get the job done at the same time. So there's novel ways we're still pressing authorities to think through, but we're also hopeful that in a fortnight's time we've managed this Omicron threat effectively, and it's full steam ahead for these much required labour forces, not just across the harvest, across horticulture, and the community and abroad relies on those sorts of visa holders.
Well, that's right. We certainly do hope we get on top of it quickly. Xavier Martin, Vice President of New South Wales Farmers, thank you for calling in for us today. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Ricky.